Hi everyone, it's Kate from Izzalicious Designs. Today I'm going to be doing the Australian flag. It's about time, isn't it? Well, I'll show you my preparation. This is the pattern that I'm going to be using. You're going to be able to find it on my website, which is www.izzalicious.com. Now, there are a variety of different links there. You are going to want to click on Murals, and then there is a link under Murals for mural patterns. Okay, so the other one is actually the video tutorials on the murals that I've done, and then the other one is the patterns that I've either made or have found. Some of them are from braceletbook.com, some are ones that I've submitted to braceletbook.com. So anyway, this one is one that I made up. It's very difficult when you're making a mural to get the definition that you need for some of the more intricate flags with great big, beautiful details. Somebody asked me about the Welsh flag, and I'd love to do the Welsh flag. I spent many years in Chepstow as a kid and young adult, and I love the place. And there's just no way that without doing a huge mural that would take up your desk, you could get the definition of the beautiful dragon. Anyway, this is the best I can do for the Aussie flag. As you know, I am English and Australian. I'm a dual citizen, so I'm what the Aussies would call a POM. So I'm a POM. What I've done, I've numbered. We have a white border all the way around. I've numbered all the different rows that I'm going to need. There's 24, which means you'd need 2 looms. It's going to be 2 looms worth. There's 43 columns that we're going to need to make. Now, I did attempt to do it with 2 looms attached together longwise, how I did my other two loom one, which was like this. It was extremely difficult because of the fact that it's so big. So we're going to do it in a bit of a different way. All right, what we're going to be doing is doing the bottom half of the mural first, and we're going to tie each column off, and then we're going to attach that to the top part of the mural. So I guess that's as clear as mud. I will show you how to do it. What I've done, I've split my pattern in 2. I'm going to fold it in half under the 12 mark. So I'm going to be placing 12 bands here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, that's your loom. So I've only gone down to 12 on my pattern, and then I've turned it in half like this. So we are going to start by doing from column 13 down to column 24. All right, now the other thing I've done is I've marked out with yellow highlighter where I'm going to be putting my crossover bands, and I'm going to do them every 5 columns. So I've got a crossover band here, and at column 5 I need to put a new one, then go across 5, go across 5. So you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where you put that yellow dot, or whatever colour you choose, you're going to call that number 1. So even though it's number 5, it's number 1 as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At the end here, I've only gone 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that I can split those evenly between the last few columns. Alright, so we're going to get started. You're going to probably need a marker pen so that you can tick off. I'm using a pencil to tick off what I'm doing down the columns. I'm also going to use a marker pen to strike through the column when I'm done. I'm going to fold this into quarters so I can do a little bit at a time, and that I can also have my pattern sitting here. And I'm going to tape my pattern with some tape to my workspace so that it doesn't keep flying all over the place. So I'm going to tape that just here. We're using a single loom. That's all we're going to be using to do this. We are going to be doing move it forward technique, so you're going to need your base removal tool that's on the bottom of your Rainbow Loom hook. you're probably going to need coffee, or if you're doing this in the evening, something stronger. We're going to start by starting at column 13. So we're doing the bottom part first, and then we add it to the top. So for the bottom row, let me show you. I've just carefully stuck this down, but let me show you what I'm jibber-jabbing about. Okay, so if you have a look here, this is going to be our first quarter. The other bits over here. This is a long project. So it's all starting with blue except for the first column. Okay, so when we start with this, what we're going to be doing is placing 2 blue bands at the top of each of these. Oops, like this. Oh, not on the first one, sorry, that's white, isn't it? Remember? And we're not going to be doing the bands across like this. We're going to save that for the top of the mural. So we're placing them like that. All right. Now, for the first couple of columns, we're going to be doing blue, mostly all the way down. I think we finish 1 peg short of the actual loom. All right, we're double banding, which means you take 2 bands and you place them on the pegs together. We're also having the loom face towards us with the open part of the peg facing towards us. If you're using arrows, it's the arrow facing towards you, and your loom is going to be standard configuration. All the columns need to be the same height. So now, the other thing to bear in mind, the bands that we have just placed at the top, doing basically nothing, these ones here, that is row 13. So row 13, I have a white, a blue and a blue, okay? That is row 13. So this one here is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then column 24, I'm sorry, row 24 is going to be white. All right, this is where we finish. So for the first couple anyway, good couple, everything is going to be blue except for that first column, and this is our stopping point. So lay your bands, and this is monotonous, I'm not going to lie, it is quite monotonous to do. I want 2 white for the bottom here, there we go, and I want white all the way down this particular column. Until you start seeing your mural picture form, it's just like, oh, okay, here's some more blue, here's some more, and then you start seeing it and you're like, oh, I can see there's this and there's that. So I've laid all the bands for my columns. I need to put 2 lead here, okay, like we would do for a normal mural, then 2 from the center to the right, make sure these are here, all right, and then 2 from the left to the center. This just gives our edge to the mural. It gives it a nice edge. Push everything down. Now I'm going to be using clear bands for my crossover bands, so a single clear band. If you don't have clear bands, white would work because your border is going to be white. So you kind of pick the predominant colour of what you're doing. It's a single band that you're stretching between these 3 pegs. Now remember, I said that we were going to be going between 5 pegs, so you have 2 more columns to go over with these sets of crossover bands. Now, unlike normal, we are going to put a crossover band up the top. If we didn't, when we go to loop these up, there would be no crossover band there and there'd be a great big gap. So we need to make sure we take care of that. We're going to put an end cap just here on the end, funny about that, and that is our starting point. So you always sort of need something to be your starting point. So let's put our end cap there, which is a single band that you wrap once and twice, and we will pop that on the end here. You're going to dig down, let me change hooks, dig down, find the top 2 bands, they go to the right, so loop them to the right, and the next 2 go to the right, loop those up. Now we're going to loop the first 2 columns only. Alright, so dig down, and we're only doing the first 2 columns. Alright, so you're going to link up to here and up to here. We're not going to be moving anything across to the right. What we're going to be doing is hold your the two white bands for this particular one. You're going to push past your crossover band like you would normally, grab the 2 bottom bands as if you were looping them up, but you're not going to loop them up. You're going to put them on the end of your hook. Take the 2 that are closest to you up, over and off in a slip knot. Do not pull that slip knot so tight that you're not going to be able to undo it, but don't leave it so loose that it's just going to come undone by itself. Alright, the next pair down here, if I can get my fingers on them, come on you, there we go, do the same thing, push your hook, make it push that crossover band back, up, pop it on the end, take the 2 closest to you up, over and off, and pull into a slip knot. Again, not too tight. We want to take this first column off our loom, so we're going to do that just like normal. Make sure that your second column stays in place. You don't want that going walkabout. And this one is always a little bit tricky, so just make sure you take that off the loom carefully. That is our first column done. We have 42 to go. Turn your loom over and you're going to move your base plate forward like that. That's why we call it the move it forward technique. Do the same to the bottom base plate, so the 2 mini base plates are moved forward. Take your column that's now empty, which was number 1, and move it forward to place number 4. Now on your little pattern you're going to tick off that you've done column 1, column 2, column 3, because we've done those. We're now on column 4. You can also use a ruler if you feel that you need a bit of help seeing where you're at on your pattern. Use a ruler. So we are now going to be laying bands that are blue all the way down until we get to a pair of white here at the bottom. Again, row 13 starts with a blue, and you're just going to put the 2 blues there, and then we lay our bands. Now I really hope that you have printed out this pattern yourself, because if you're relying on me doing the whole tutorial with you, I'm not sure if we will or not. It might make an extremely long tutorial that everybody gets very bored of. So I'm going to take 2 white, place those here. I do need my 2 white lead bands. I'll take these 2 from the middle and place them on the right hand side like that. And I'm going to drag my crossover bands over. These have to go over 5 pegs, and this is peg number 4 that it's going over. Drag the top one over as well. Mustn't forget to do that, okay? Now we're ready to loop up the middle column. Dig down, you're going to loop the white ones to the right, and then you loop up your middle column. When you get to the top, hold the 2 bands, dig down, grab the other end of them, pop them on the end, over, and slip knot. Not too tight though. Let's take this one off now. Please make sure these are all pushed down. Okay, move our loom over and we move the big base plate, and then the column of pegs. So tick off that you've done column number 4. We're on column number 5. You need 2 at the top here and move down. Now I'm going to show you how to add new crossover bands, because we need to on this particular one, and then we will see how many. Oh, I put blue there instead of white. Let's move those. There's my white. I need 2 white for my lead, and then take the center leads and put those to the right. Move your crossover bands to column number 5. Don't forget to move the top one. Dig down, find your top 2 bands and loop those to the right. Then you're looping up your center row. Column, gosh, I always say that. I'm looking at the rows and the wrong word comes out my mouth. I think as you get older sometimes the wrong words come out. I once told my husband to put the Uggs in the onion, and I meant the pizza in the oven. I have no idea where I got Ugg boots and onion from, but there we go. Okay, take your 2 from the top here, loop up, grab the end and do your slip knot, one over the other, like that. And then we can take this first column off. Again, remember I said keep everything pushed down. So that was number 5. Now number 5 was the last column that we need these bands on, the crossover bands. We need to add new ones. Let's move our base plates forward. Move our column forward. We're on number 6. Make sure that you keep it in line. Lay your bands. pair of white down here at the bottom, 2 pair for the lead, drag these ones across. Now this is where we add our new crossovers. Take your single clear band, place it on the middle column to the right. So column number 5 has 2 on it. It has the end of the last set and the beginning of this set. And remember, you need to do up the top as well. Okay, let's dig down, grab the 2 white, loop them to the side, and then we loop up. Now this is number 6. I need to mark that off on my little pattern so I know where I'm at. Push those crossover bands back with the back of your hook to just expose the blue bands. As long as you plan how you're going to do this, really, you can do whatever size mural you want. This is the way you would just attach them all together. Push back, grab the 2 bands so that you're looping it as if you're looping it up. Put your end on the end of the bands on your hook and do your slip knot. Again, not too tight. So that was number 6. Let's take this off the loom. Push everything down and move our big base plate. Now we're on 6, we have 7, 8, 9. We've got 3 more columns that are going to be exactly the same format as these. They're just going to be blue all the way down. Two up the top. If you have multiple looms, you can just add them all together. That doesn't matter. But this is the way to do it if you are doing move it forward technique with a single loom. To lead, oops, and then move the center ones over like that. You're now going to be dragging your crossover bands. This will be the 3rd peg they're on. 1, 2, and 3. See? So they have 2 more. Down and find the white bands, loop them across, push everything down. And the longer this gets, the more you'll need to push down. Let's loop up the 2nd one here. Dig down past that crossover band. Take the first 2 up and over. The reason I like to do that is then when I take this first column off, the crossover band at the top does not sort of come loose and go under the peg. I like to just make sure that it stays where it's supposed to. Just be careful that your columns of pegs do not raise off the base plates, like mine just did. Tick off. Drag your crossover bands and the one at the top hold these two and do a slip knot. Push everything down. Make sure you tick off. If you've forgotten how many you've done, just count. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that was number 8. All right. Move your column. We're now on number 9. Now number 9, we will be adding new crossovers for when we do number 10. Number 9 is going to be exactly the same as what we've had already. Number 10 is when we have a bit of a difference. Oops. To lead, drag these across. Oopsie. Get the top 2, loop them across. Take the 2, do your slip knot, and then take this off the loom. Now that was number 9. I'm going to take this off. Number 10 is a little bit different. Let's move things across. Move our column of pegs across. We're still starting off with 2 blue at the top for row 13, and then we do 2 pair of blue, then we do a pair of white, a pair of blue, a pair of white, a pair of blue, a pair of white, and then blue till we get to this last peg. So that's 1, 2 and 3, and then a pair of white. Make sure you've got your lead bands, and if you remember I said we need to do new crossover bands at this point. So take your single clear, drag them from the center to the right hand side. Don't forget, you need to do your top one as well. Alright, that's important. Alright, let's dig down, find those 2 white ones and loop them to the side, and then we loop up our center column, and this time you've got again 2 bands that you've got to go through. You've got to push those 2 crossover bands back with the back of your hook to get the 2 blue bands. Take your 2 and loop up, reclaim the end of your bands and tie in a slip knot. Take column number 1 off your loom. Well, it's not really column number 1, but you know what I mean. Push everything down and tick off that you have done that column. Now the next one, let's move things across again, moving our big base plate. Oh, fumble fingers this morning. Well, most mornings really. Move your column of pegs. Again, 13 starts off with 2 blue, then you're going to do 4 pair of blue, I'm sorry, 3 pair of blue. This is your 4th, so you've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then we do 3 pair of white, and then it's blue to the bottom except for your end band for your border. And 2 white as your lead. Drag your crossover bands over. And start your loopy process. hold these two, dig down, grab the two bands, reclaim the end and do your slip knot. Tick off on your pattern that you did that column. Move the mini base plates forward. Move your column forward. And let's see what we have to lay for the next set. We have 3 pair of blue. So here's our first pair, our second, and our third. Then we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pair of white, and then blue until we get to the bottom. It's only 3 pair. So 1, 2, 3, then a pair of white, then a lead pair of white, and your crossovers. Make sure these are sitting friendly. Drag your crossover bands over. And we're ready to loop up. Slip knot and take column 1 off. Now let's tick off that we did that. Move our big base plate, and our column of pegs, and now we do 4 pair of blue. So our first pair is just going to sit here, two, 3 and 4. Then we have 3 pair of white, and then blue to the bottom until we get to the last, the border bit. White, 2 for your lead. Oops, get back on there, you. Now this is the last time that we drag these crossover bands over. We'll have new ones next. Doesn't matter if those flip over, but I do prefer them just sitting there so I know that they're ready. Let's to loop up this column. Grab your 2 blue bands that are sitting here for column 13, loop up, reclaim and slip knot. Tick off on your map that you have done that, your map, your pattern, whatever. Now move forward. We have 3 pair, so here's 1, 2 and 3. Then we have a pair of white, a pair of blue, a pair of white, a pair of blue, a pair of white, and blue to the end until we need to do our white border bands, which is only 3 pair. Pair of white, lead bands, move those across. Now you need to put new crossover bands on. Grab your clear bands and you take a single from the center to the right. Oops. Don't forget your top one. Dig down, loop those 2 white ones to the right, and then loop up. Slip knot. Tick off that we have just done that. And we take the first column off. Big base plate. Now move your column. Let's count how many we have to do now, because I believe that you are going to be able to do some of this without me. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 more columns that are all going to be blue except for the white at the bottom here. So I will catch you back when we've done 16 more columns. Okay. Alright, I'm back. This was my column number 16. I'm on column number 17. So we start with blue. We move down. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pair of blue. That's our first pair. Second pair. Third. Fourth. Fifth and sixth. Now here we put a pair of white, and then it's blue until we get to the border. Run to the border! Then we do white and some lead white. Move your center ones to the right hand side. Drag the crossover bands across. And start to loop the 2 top ones to the right and then your middle column. Now I hope you've been remembering to put your crossover bands every 5. Do your slip knot. Tick off that we have done this on our little map and take off the first column. Put your big base plate forward, or whichever one you're on. You might have the mini base plates, and move your column of pegs forward. Now this next one we have 5 pair of blue. Again, please remember that the first pair sits there doing nothing, like that. So 5 pairs, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then we have 3 pair of white. 1, 2, 3, 3 pair of blue. A pair of white, some lead bands, drag across, move your crossover bands over, and start to loop. You go with these first 2 top white bands and then the center column. Please remember to hold your loom, push your loom down so that the columns of pegs do not come free from the base plates. We're going to do our slip knot, take your first column off. Okay, tick that we've done that one off. Now, here we go. Move the mini base plates. And your polymer pegs. We have 1 pair, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pair of blue, so that's 1 pair, 2 pair, 3, 4, 5 and 6, then a pair of white, and then blue, pair of white, pair of lead white, move the centre ones over and drag your crossover bands across. We're looping up the centre column. Tie a slip knot. Take your first column off your loom. Push everything down. Now, for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the next 9 columns are going to be all blue with just the little white one at the bottom here. So again, I will catch you back when you have done all blue except for this last little borderline here down the bottom. Alright, so we're going to do 9 more columns. Please don't forget you need to be adding new crossovers here, stretch them across 5, then new crossovers. You're going to need at least 3 new sets of crossovers. Alright, so please make sure you do that. I will catch you back when we've done another 9 columns, all blue with the last pair being white. Okay, I'm back. Now, this was my column number 9. Hopefully you remembered when you were doing your crossovers that we said the last 2 crossover bands, the sets of crossover bands, were only going to go between 4 pegs. So this set here is between 4. 1, 2, wait, sorry, here, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then I added a new set here. Okay, so it's going to go between 3, and this is going to be our last column here. Alright, and that is going to be all white, and that means this one then will get pulled across 4. If you haven't remembered, it's not going to be a huge problem. I wouldn't worry about it too much, but there we go. I'm going to loop up this middle column. If you didn't remember, it'll just, the last set of bands will just go between 3, and that's okay. So I've looped up the middle column, find my bands to make my slip knot. I'm going to take this column off. Sure those bands stay there. Now this is going to be my very last column for for the bottom part. Remove my base plate. And I'm going to lay white bands all the way down. So I've got 2 at the top here and white bands all the way down. Now, we don't need any lead bands here, and the reason we don't need any lead bands is because there's nowhere for it to go. We're at the end of this part of the mural, so all we're going to do is drag these across to here, drag our crossover bands over, and loop up both of these columns. Move that to the right, and then we can loop up both of these. When you get to the top here, we're just tying off as we have been, doing our little slip knots for each column. There's one, and here is our last one, like that. We can take all of this off the loom. This is the bottom part of our mural. So you can stretch it out, so it's quite big. See how big it is? Alright. So now we're going to do the top part. So we can put this just to one side for a second. Let's get our little pattern out. So I'm going to flip this over. This is the top part that we're going to be making. Again, I'm going to turn it into quarters so that I can work easily. I'm going to use a ruler so that I know exactly what column I'm on. I'm going to use tape just so that I can tape my pattern to the desk that I'm using. So my first column is all white. You can see just here it's all white. So we're going to do pretty much, well, it's not really pretty much, the top also is all white. So one of the things that you'll always need to do is have 2 lead bands here. Okay, you'll always need to do that, and your top is always going to be white, like that. Now we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, so our first column is going to be white. That is number 1. You're still double banding. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Okay, the second column starts with a pair of white, and all of them are going to start with a pair of white, okay, because that's the border for the top. Just like we have this border for the bottom, we're having a border for the top. So we always start with white up the top. Then we're moving into some different colours. So we're starting with a pair of red. This is where you'll be needing to use your map, your pattern, quite extensively. I have a pair of blue. I have 3 pair of red, and I like to tick off where I'm at on my little map. I have a pencil, so not only am I ticking off the column that I've done, so I've done column 1, I'm also in the little box putting a little, cross out through where I've done. A pair of blue, a pair of white, and a pair of red. That's column number 2. Cross that off your pattern. Column number 3, we start with the white, and then we have another pair of white and a pair of red. Then we have 2 pair of blue, 3 pair of red, 2 pair of blue, so it's kind of like the column in front. Now we have a pair of red and a pair of white. Now we're going to use crossover bands, so take your clear bands, single. You do not do the top, you do the one underneath it, okay? And you're stretching, and you're remembering that these are going between 5 columns. Now we are going to be putting a band, a clear crossover band, here on the very last one. We're also going to be getting the bottom of our mural right now. Now make sure you have it the right way. Okay, the big star is on the left, the little star is on the right. I'm going to tick off on my map, on my pattern, that I've done column 3. What we're doing now is we're going to be adding the first 3 columns, okay, to our mural. We have them tied off with a slip knot. So you're going to very gently, and I would use a hook as well to help you, very gently you're going to undo the first slip knot. Alright, so it's the first one, which is this pair of white. Put the pair of white on your hook. You are then going to attach it if your loom stops moving around. Next, and it is going to be fiddly. Next, because this is quite big, I'm going to fold it up on itself. We're going to take the next one off. Okay, so undo the slip knot of the next one, which is blue. Alright, be careful, you don't want to lose your bands. And this is the fiddly bit. Put your hook through and attach it to the bottom of column number 2. You're going to do the same with the third one. Undo the slip knot, pop your hook through and add that to there. Okay, so when you have your 3 on here, take the first one off, okay, the first loops for the white. Lift up the crossover band, and I'm going to just place it on that peg with the red, the middle one. You're going to take the 2 first loops and put there, and put the crossover band back, and then the other 2 loops. Let's do the same for the second. Okay, you're taking your blue bands off. You need to, I need another hook. Lift up this crossover band. You're going to place your first 2 blue loops on the hook on the peg. Move the crossover band back and place the second 2 loops. Let's do the same for the third one. Take it off, move your band up, place the first 2 bands on, first 2 loops I should say, replace your crossover, and then replace the other loops. Dig down, you're going to find the 2 bottom white bands and loop up, the 2 red bands, loop up, the 2 white bands and loop up. Now, if you didn't split the bands, that's fine. The crossover band is going to be shown, and we're only looping up the first 2 columns. Loop this one, that's fine, but we don't need to loop the rest. And the reason we don't is because we're going to drag these across. But I like to secure that first one. All the way to the top. As I was saying, with the crossover bands, if you hadn't split them, you'd just have a crossover band going across the back of your mural, which doesn't really look very pretty. Dig down, pull up and loop to the side. Let's loop up our middle column. Now I'm going to lift this up and place that underneath and then pop that there. It looks prettier. Let's take this first column off our loom. Now you're going to be very careful that you do not take column 2 off at the same time. Take this one off. Okay, see how you're not going to have to sew it in. Alright, turn your loom over. Let's move our little base plates, budge them forward. Move your column of pegs. Alright, I'm just, sorry, with the bottom bit I'm just kind of rolling it up so that it's not in my way so much. Column number 4. Well, as I said to you, we're starting always with our 2 lead, and then we move our middle ones over. We need 2 pair of white, so here's number 1 and number 2. We need a pair of red, a pair of white, a pair of blue, three pair of red, pair of blue, a pair of white, a pair of red, and a pair of white. Now, I'm going to do a bit of fancy footwork. We need to drag the crossover bands over. We have to work on this one under here as well. And grab those over. Now, what I want to do, I'm going to take my next column. I'm going to undo the slip knot. Alright, I have both loops here on my hook. I'm going to put the first 2 loops onto the peg. I'm going to find my crossover band, which is here, and I'm going to drag it across, and then I'm going to put the second loops on here. Okay, I'm going to loop the white up to keep it safe. I know that means it's difficult to try and find that crossover band when you need to drag it over, but I just think it's safer to keep it there. So loop up your middle column. Hey, come back here. There we go. Dig down, find the 2 white and loop across. Make sure everything is pushed down, and we can take this first column off our loom again. Gently does it. You don't want this coming off. Let's tick off that we did column number 4, and we're on column number 5. Turn your loom over, move your big base plate and your column of pegs. Keep the bottom half of your mural curled up. Alright, so we need 2 white as our lead. Move the others from the centre across. Can you see what I'm doing? There we go. So you've got your 2 lead here, and I moved the ones from the centre across. We then start with a pair of white, a pair of blue, another pair of white, pair of red, pair of blue, 3 pair of red, pair of blue, pair of red, pair of white, and a pair of blue. Drag your crossover bands. Now this is column number 5, so after 5 we change crossover bands, remember? So for the next column we're going to use new crossover bands. I'm going to grab this one, drag it across. Now remember, we're going to lay our first 2 loops, so let's find our next column. Here it is. That's the band we want to deal with, so we're going to gently undo the slip knot, put our hook through so that we have all 4 loops on it. You're going to take the first 2 and place them on the peg. Alright, now we have to do fish for the crossover band. Place that in place, and then you put your other 2 bands on. Okay, dig down and loop up those first blue to keep them safe. Alright, let's loop up our center column. Dig down, find the 2 white and loop them across. Gently does it with this one. Put your finger there to make sure we don't lose it, and make sure you push that down. Removing the mini base plates, budge them forward, and then move your column of pegs forward. Make sure you keep lining them up so they're all flush there. Alright, looking good. See, you're not seeing any sewing, you're not having to do any sewing here, it's just all linking in seamlessly. We did column 5, so tick that off. We're now on 6. It's going to take a while, isn't it? 6. You're going to start with your white lead up here. Grab your other lead from the center, move across to the right. Then you're going to have a pair of white, a pair of blue, a pair of white, oops, a pair of red, white, 3 pair of red. You're normally always going to have 3 pair of red here because that's where the big cross comes in. So you kind of can gauge whether you've messed up or not by whether your reds are lining up. A pair of white, a pair of red, a pair of white, and a pair of blue. Okay, so I've undone my slip knot. I have the bands on here. We need to put a new crossover band between here and here. So what we're going to do is we're going to move back a step here. Take this off, move it back onto this peg like this, and wiggle my hook around so that it falls down to the bottom. We need to take these bottom 2 loops off. The top 2 loops off. Okay, we're going to, and there's my crossover band up there. We're going to take a single and stretch it. Oh, that's broken. And stretch it across here. Now we're going to replace the top 2 that we took from there. For this side, we're going to take the 2 bottom bands and place, you can lift that up, place it up here, put those on, move the crossover band so it's between them, and put that there. I know it's fiddly, I'm sorry. Dig down, we need to find the bottom 2 bands here. There they are, and loop up. Move that crossover band across. Oh, no, I'm telling you fibs again. Need a new crossover band. Now loop that up. Put our new ones on before I forget doing that even more. So perhaps my theory about looping in this one is not such a good one for when we need to add new crossover bands. We'll have to be mindful of it not being secured in place. Okay, let's loop up this middle column. Take this first column now off the loom. Make sure that this middle column is all pushed down. Now we have to be very careful here. As I've said, we don't want this to come off. So gently does it and keep that pushed down, especially now that this one is not linked in. Oops, put my ruler back. That was column number 6. I'm just going to move my base plate and then I will tick that off my pattern. I'm moving my pegs forward. So we did number 6. Alright, let's try number 7. There are 2 white leads at the top here. And take the 2 leads that were in the centre and pop them there. We need a pair of white, 2 pair of blue, pair of white. Now we have 5 pair of red. Pair of white and 2 pair of blue. Alright, let's think about this logically. Drag these ones over first. Now on this bottom one, we know we want the first 2 loops of our slip knot on here. So let's find the column that we're after. Here it is. My hook is ready. I'm going to use my smaller hook. My hook is ready to accept those bands. I'm going to undo and hold them. I'm going to put my hook through, so I've got them on my hook. I'm going to put the first 2 on the peg. Okay, can you see what I'm doing? First 2 are on the peg. I've got the other 2 here. I'm going to drag across the crossover band and then place the other 2 on like that. Let's dig down. Find the bottom 2 blue bands here and loop up. Push down. Take this one off the loom. Please be gentle at the very bottom here. You don't want it coming off this second peg. Swap our base plates. Move them forward. And move our column of pegs forward. Okay. Alright, let's lay the bands for our next column. Oh, we need to tick off that we just did that, don't we? So that was number 7, we're on number 8. Number 8 is an exact replica of what we just did in front of us for number 7. So 2 lead bands, take the 2 from the centre, pop them to the right, and let's do exactly the same. So we start with 2 white, 2 blue, 2 blue, 2 white, 5 red, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, a pair of white and 2 blue, and 1 more 2. Alright, let's drag our crossovers. This is where we have our fiddle factor, where we join the 2 together. So find the column that we're working on. Here's mine here. I'm going to undo the slip knot carefully, poke my hook through. I'm going to place the first 2 loops on the peg. I'm going to drag over the crossover band and place the next 2 on top, like that. Now I can loop up my middle column if I can find the 2 bottom bands. Whoops, I got 3, not 2. There we go. And move across. So I've looped up here, we've done this, we need to take this one off our loom. As I keep mentioning, I know I sound like a broken record. Some of you wouldn't know what a record is, would you? Take this first column off gently. Okay, push that down, make sure you keep this one on, it's very important. Move these forward, move the column of pegs forward, push it all down. Now we're on column number 9. So again, as I've stated, we start with 2 lead, the 2 lead here, take the 2 from the centre, move them across, then we have 2 white. Now with this we start with 3 pair of blue, a pair of white, 3 pair of red, pair of white, and 3 pair of blue. Now we're on number 9. Number 9 is going to be where we add new crossovers, and I know this is a fiddle factor, isn't it, when we add the new crossover bands. So what we have to do, this one we don't have to add it onto this, it's the next column that we have to worry about. So find your column, here we are, this is my one for this time. I'm going to ease the slip knot out. Please be careful when you do this, you don't want to lose your, have it all unravel on you. So pop your hook through to grab those 4 loops. Okay, now the first 2 loops, mine are sitting on top of each other, there we go. The first 2 loops go on the peg, on the peg on the 3rd column. You drag your crossover band over and put the next 2 there. Now I'm wondering if it might be a very good idea, seeing as we need to put new crossover bands here next, if we take a clear one and pop it on top and then pop that there. That will then be our lead for our next crossover band. Alright, let's drag these all over. Make things easier for ourselves. And now we can loop up. You're going to find the bottom 2 blue bands. Up to the top. I like to pull it forward and then to the side. Let's take this column off. Gently does it around this one. You need that to stay in place. Alright. Push everything down. Turn your loom over and we move our mini base plates this time. Budge them forward. That was number 9. We need to tick that off our pattern. We're on number 10. Number 10 is going to be nice. There's a lot of white bands involved. Alright, so 2 lead. Oops, throw that one around. Move the 2 lead from the centre to the right. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pair of white. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then you've got your 3 red, because that's part of the cross, if you remember me saying. 1, 2, 3, and then we have white. We've got 4 pair, so 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now find your next column. Here we are. Let's take, hey, get back there. Let's get this band out of the way. Alright, so we're going to hold this column and gently ease the slip knot off. Make sure it's even, that you don't lose it. Poke your hook through the pegs, the loops, so you have them all on. Now I can see I have an extra one here. I've picked something up that I shouldn't have. There we go. That's better. I'm going to put the 2 first loops on. I've got new crossover band. I'm dragging that across. That made it easier. Now I'm dragging these 2 loops over. We need to put new crossover bands all the way up. Ooh, broken band. Okay, let's loop. Dig down, find the 2 bottom blue bands and loop up. Push everything down, up and over. I'm going to just tick off that this is column 10 that I've done, otherwise I'll get myself confused. It doesn't take much. Take this off my loom. Push everything down. Turn our loom over, removing the big base plate, and then our column of pegs. See, if you look at the back, you don't see the crossover bands either. You don't see them at the front. It's all just looped in. We're on 11. Now, 11 is a fun one. 11 and 12 are fun. You're going to start by placing your lead bands, dragging the center lead bands across to the right, 2 white bands, and then we're doing red all the way down, and that's the same for column 12 as well. So put the red there, drag our crossovers, now let's find our next column. Here we go, this is the one. Hey, get out of the way, you. I'm going to undo that slip knot. Please be careful. Put your hook through the 4 loops. Okay, the first 2 loops are going on your peg. Then you're going to drag your crossover band over and place your second 2 loops. Now we've got to find the 2 bottom white bands and loop up that middle column. Hey, come here. There we go. And take this column off. loom over, and we're moving the baby base plates, the mini ones. Now, as I said, 12 is exactly the same as 11, so I'm going to cross off 11 and do my 2 lead in white, drag the others over, have my first 2 white here. Now we do red all the way to the bottom. Oopsie. Let's look for our new column. Here we go. I'm going to undo. I kind of like to pinch where it's at so that I know it's not going to unravel too much. Poke my hook through the top and to the bottom. Put those first 2 bands on. Grab my crossover, drag it across, and then the second 2 loops of my band. Drag my crossovers through. Dig down and find those 2 red to loop them up. Dig down, pull up and over. Okay. See how we've got the border all the way around? You're not having to stitch it, it's all getting looped in together, and the back even doesn't have crossovers on, which I think looks quite nice. Alright, so that was 12. Let's tick that one off. We're on 13. Two lead white. Move the 2 white that were there in the center over. Now we have 5 pair of white. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we have 3 pair of red. 1, 2, and 3. 4 pair of white. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we find our next column. There it is, right here. So I'm going to pinch just under it so it doesn't go anywhere. I'm going to release the slip knot. And this is why I said don't make them too tight, but don't make them so loose that they will unravel. So the first 2 bands go on, move your crossover over, and then the next 2 loops of your band go on, drag your crossovers over. You're digging down to find those 2 bottom red bands. And pop them over. Let's take this one off the loom. There we go. Just careful of that one. There we go. Push that down. Turn over, and we move the mini base plates. Then the column of pegs. So we can cross off that we have done 13. You're going to be bored of me soon, aren't you? It's beginning to take shape. Alright, 2 lead of white, the 2 middle white go across. I said we were on 14, didn't I? So there we go, there's our 2 white. Now we have 3 pair of blue. So 1, 2, and 3. Then we have a pair of white, 3 pair of red, pair of white, oopsie, and 3 pair of blue. And on 13 we need to add new crossover bands. So we put these across here. So that means I did not put my lead crossover bands on at the very bottom. I think we'll be okay. Alright, so my other crossover band needs to go underneath the prior one. Alright, so I'm going to lift these 2 blue top loops off, put my crossover band over, and then put that back like that. Okay, let's grab my next column to link in. I'm going to undo the slip knot. I'm going to put my hook through the loops. There's 4 loops like that. So now what I need to do, take off, remember that's going to sit there as a lead, take that off, put my first 2 loops on like that. Now move my crossover band into place, and then the second loops. Now let's find these white 2 bottom white bands. Nope, I've got too many there. I just want the white ones. I had a blue one in there as well. And let's loop this up. down, pull up and over, and then we take this off. Sorry, it's difficult when you're doing a really huge project not to make any mistakes at all. I do try very hard, but sometimes it just happens. Let's move our big base plate and our column of pegs. I didn't loop up that center column. I don't need to, gosh, going bonkers. 2 lead, drag the other lead over. We start with 2 white. Now we're on column 15, so we have 2 blue and another 2 blue, a pair of white. Now we have 5 pair of red. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. We have a pair of white and 2 pair of blue. Let's find our next column. Here we go. So we're going to undo this slip knot. Now it's a good idea to check at times that the slip knots are all tied, that you haven't got any that are coming untied. If you look at that one, you'll probably just give that a little pull just to make sure it's still in the right place. Right, so I have my slip knot on my hook. I'm going to drag, I'm not going to drag anything. I'm going to take my first 2 loops and place them on the peg. I'm going to drag my crossover band over, and I'm going to place my other 2 loops on top, and then I'm going to move my crossover bands over. This is 15. Alright, let's dig down and find those 2 bottom blue bands and loop up. Push everything down before you make a mistake. Take this last one off, push those down. Make sure they stay there. Turn your loom over and we move the base plates forward. Alright, we're number 16. See, you've got your Union Jack starting to show there. Put your 2 that are your lead, and then move the other 2 that are sitting here in the middle. So we lay our first 2, which are going to be white. Then we have 2 blue. There's our first pair. And a second pair. Do a pair of white. We do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pair of red. And then we do a pair of white and 2 pair of blue. Alright, let's find our next column. Here we go. I'm going to undo the slip knot. You can use your hook to help you as well if you need to. So undo your slip knot. Make sure you get all 4 loops on your hook. The first 2 loops go on the peg. Move the crossover band over, then put the second 2 loops on your peg, and then drag the other crossovers over. We are looking to find the 2 bottom blue. There we go. Better safe than sorry. Take down, go up and over and push this all down. Let's take this column off our loom. And make sure that's all pushed down. Big base plate. Move your column forward. We just did 16, so I'm going to tick that off. We are on 17. So 17, again we start with 2 lead white and then 2 white. I'm going to have 2 blue, two white, 2 red, 2 white, 3 red, pair of white, pair of red, pair of white, and a pair of blue. This is number 17. 17 is where we're going to have extra crossover bands added. So I'm going to, let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to first of all unhook my next column. So here we are. Make sure I'm not messing up any of the others. So squeezing this one, which is the one I'm going to be on, I'm going to undo it gently. There we go. I'm going to pop, I'm going to use a smaller hook, pop my hook through the 4 loops. I'm going to put the first 2 loops on like that. I'm going to move my crossover band across like that. I'm going to remember to put my lead crossover band for the next one, and I'm going to replace the other two, so that helps with that. So let's drag these across to 17. Dig down, find the bottom two blue and loop up. To stay on here, so make sure that stays there. Move your column of pegs. Let's tick off that we did 17. And now on 18. Two lead white. Oh, look at this. We didn't move these two over, did we? Okay, so they have to go. Oopsie. They always go on the bottom, so I am going to lift these up and pop those there, and then pop those on top. And now they go across. Yes, that's right. Goodness, having a little brain fart there. Alright, so let's take two white, two blue, two white, two red, two blue. Now I have three red, two blue, two red, two white, and two blue. Now we are going to use the clear bands to do the crossovers, so let's do that now so we don't forget. Stretch them between the middle peg and the right peg. We already have our lead one here, so we're good for that. Let's pinch this and release the homes, release the slip knot. Take the two bands but 4 loops in your hook. The first two go on, drag your crossover over, and then place the second 2 loops of your band like that. You're digging down to find these 2 blue. They're the bottom 2. Oh my goodness, come on you. Let's pull this out of the way to see what we're doing. There we go, 2 blue. And just check on my little slip knots, make sure none of them are coming undone. for the top, up and across, and push down. Turn over, removing the big base plate and column of pegs. See, it's starting to form. These will get stretched out when we're finished, so don't worry too much about that. 2 lead, drag the center leads over to the right. Oops, drag both of them, not just one. Now, we just did 18, didn't we? Yes. So let's tick that off. And I'm going to budge my map forward so I can see what on earth I'm doing. We're on 19. Pair of white, pair of red, pair of white, pair of blue. No, I've done it wrong. Let's take those off. We've got 2 pair of white, 2 pair of white, a pair of red, a pair of white, a pair of blue, and now we have our 3 reds. See, I could tell there was a mistake because my 3 red weren't going to line up. So 3 red, then a pair of blue, pair of white, pair of red, and a pair of white. This is number 19. So let's find our next attachment. So I've got that on my hook here. The first 2 go on the peg, drag the crossover band over, and then place the other 2. Let's drag the crossover bands over. Loop up. Down and place across. Okay, let's tick off that we did 19. We're on 20. Mini base plates get moved across. And you know what? It probably helps if we take this column off so that we can budge things forward. Make sure that this end one here stays on. That's really important. Okay, now we can move our column forward. Thank goodness I don't have a column to move forward. So let's put 2 lead bands on for column number 21. Take the 2, if I can grab them, that are in the center and move them to the right. Now we have 2 white bands here. Or have we just done column 21? I think we've just done column 21, haven't we? Yes, so on 22. Blue, white, white, red. We're on column 22. Let me tick that off. Alright, so pair of white and another pair of white. Now we need 3 pair of blue. 1, 2 and 3. We need 3 pair of red. 1, 2 and 3. Let's have 3 pair of blue again. 1, 2 and 3, and a pair of white. Here we go. Now let's drag our crossovers across. No, we need new ones. Silly me. Silly, silly. Okay, new ones on 21. This is 21 here, this is 22. That's what I was getting confused about. Single clear bands that we're dragging across. From the center to the right. And we already have one here ready to go, but we need to put our next column on first. So hold your next column, pinch it so you don't lose the bands. I'm going to release the hounds, release the slip knot, put the 4 loops through my hook like that. Take the first 2 loops and place them on that peg. Move that crossover band over onto that peg, onto that 3rd column peg, and then the 2 bands for the blue go back on there. Let's dig down and find the 2 red bands. That's all we want, is the 2 red bands. And my crossover band is being fiddle faffy. There we go, 2 red, and loop them up. This is quite possibly the longest, whoops, when you your crossover there, video that I've done, and so my phone is screaming every time I run out of space. Which is fine if it screamed loudly and not quietly so I didn't hear it. Okay, up and over, push down, and let's take this first column off the loom. Alright, we're halfway through. I'm going to take my pattern and I'm going to turn it over. Here we go. So from 23, I don't know if you can see that, we've got a couple of stars to put in, but really that's it. So it's not too bad. Alright, so let's move our pegs, our base plates, and then our pegs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns to do that are just going to be solid blue. We've got new base plates. We're going to start with our lead of white, move the 2 across that are white, put your first one as white for your border, and then it's all blue, and we're doing this 4 times. Alright, let's drag our crossovers across. Let's find our next column that we need to loop in. I'm going to pinch this, I'm going to release the slip knot, poke my hook through all 4 of the loops like that. First 2 go on, grab the crossover band and drag it across, and then place the other 2. Push down, you're finding the 2 bottom white bands. And push down. Let's tick off that we've just done number 23. I'm also going to tape it into place so it's not going walkabout on me. Alright, let's take this first column off. Turn over, and move the column of pegs. You start with your 2 white lead, move the middle ones across, 2 white, and we do blue all the way down. This is our second full blue, because we're true blues, and you're not going to understand that unless you're Aussie or have been there. Okay, let's drag our crossovers across. This is 24. 25 is the next column that we add new crossover bands to. Let's find our next column. Here he is, just sitting here. I'm going to untie the slip knot, pinching this so it doesn't go walkabout. Pop my hook through. First 2 loops go on. There's 1, there's 2. Drag the crossover band over and pop that on there. Now we can loop up this middle column. Up and across. See, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. How many inches is this? You're looking at about, well, about 5.5 wide. 5.5 inches wide. So that was 24, 25, here we come, 2 lead, move the lead across, 2 white and blue all the way to the bottom. If you remember, I said that this was the one where we're having new crossover bands. So, first of all, let's find our next column. There we go. I'm going to undo the slip knot. Sometimes it helps to use a hook. So I've got my hook through those 2 and those 2, so I have all 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to put 2 on, drag the crossover band to column 25, put my lead crossover band on and replace that. Okay, let's drag these across to 25. And we loop up. Up and across. Make sure everything is pushed down. Move your column of pegs. So that was 25. We're now going to do 26. Two, drag the 2 across. Oops, 2. Still doing blue all the way down. Okay, we're doing new crossover bands. So the single clear band that stretches from the center to the right. Let's find our next column. Here we go. pinch it, release the slip knot, grab all 4 loops onto your hook, first 2 go on, drag the new crossover and then put your last 2 loops on like that. I'm just going to check that my columns are all looking good. Yep, they're still fine. Okay, so now we're just going to dig down and find those bottom 2 blue bands. I found one. Where's the other one hiding? There it is. And loop up. Make sure you push both of those crossover bands back with your hook. Up and across, push down. Let's tick off that we've just done 26. And take this off our loom. Bottom one is really important to make sure it stays on. So it's getting there. Have a look, see? Alright, 27. We are starting with our 2 lead bands. Move these middle ones across. You start with a pair here. Now we're doing blue nearly all the way to the bottom, but not quite. Now we're going to do here a pair of white, and then we finish with a pair of blue. Let's find our next column to link in. There it is. I'm going to release the slip knot. Put my hook through all 4 loops. The first 2 on. Come here, you. There we go. Drag the crossover over and put the second 2 on. Drag your crossovers across. Tick off 27. You're looking for 2 bottom, the 2 bottom blue bands. If you need to, you might need to pull that back a bit. There we go, to expose them. Oops, that one needs to stay there. Okay. We are on column number 28. See, look, there's not much left to do. Okay, to lead, pull over, do a pair of white, and a third pair of white. Okay, let's find our next column. Here it is. Release the slip knot, put them both on your hook. First two bands are on, move your crossover over, and then replace the other two bands. Now this is 28, so we'll move these crossover bands over. 29 has new crossover bands. Oh, I was looking for white bands and I'm supposed to be looking for blue. Let's cross off that we just did 28. And we'll take our bands off. Alright, 29. Pair of white and a pair of blue. Okay, let's find, now this is 29, so we do need a new crossover here. Okay, I'm pinching this column here as I undo slip knot. There we go. There's my first two loops, there's my second two. So I'm going to put my first two loops on the peg. I'm going to draw across the crossover. I'm going to take a new crossover as a lead and place it on there and pop that here, those two back on. Okay, draw these across, and tick off that we have done 29. Dig down, find the two white bands, keep that pushed down the bottom there. Alrighty, two lead, drag the two white over, two white. Now we are on, as I said, number 30. Let's put my ruler there so I know what on earth I'm doing. It's all blue. All blue. Now we need new crossovers from the center to the right, a single clear band. Oops. Alright, let's find our next column. Here she is. Release the slip knot. Put those loops on your hook. You're going to take the first two, place them on, drag that new crossover band across that you had sitting there waiting. And now we're ready to loop up. Be nice if I could find, there we go, no, still got too many. There she go, no, did I get too many? Let's check, 1, 2, no, I think, I'm going to be sure, I'm going to make sure I've got just the right ones. Haha, there we go, that feels better. If it just doesn't feel right, it's not worth progressing because you'll end up having to unloop things and fix. So that was 30. Let's cross that off. 31 is going to be exactly the same. 2 lead, and blue all the way down. Find our next column to link in, pinch it, release, grab the bands, the loops, the 2 first ones go on, drag your crossover over, pop the second ones on, now drag your crossovers over on all the other rows. And let's take this off. So let's tick off that we did 31. Now we're on to 32. We've only got 42, so we've only got 43. So we've got 11 more columns to do. 2, drag these ones over, pair of white. We need 3 pair of blue, pair of white, and then blue to the bottom. Let's find our column, pinch it so that it's not going to go anywhere, undo the slip knot, poke your hook through the 4 loops, first 2 loops go on, drag the crossover band over, second loops go on, and then drag the rest of these crossover bands. So that was 32. Let's cross that off. And let's loop up. Okay, 33. 2 lead. Grab the other 2 lead. 2 white. Now we do 2 pair of blue. Oops. Then we do 3 pair of white. So 1, 2, and 3, and then it's blue all the way to the end. Now 33 also is going to have new crossovers. So let's grab the column that we want, release the slip knot, poke our hook through all 4 loops. The first 2 go on, drag the old crossover over, get a new crossover and place it there as a lead, and place the other 2 bands on. You're just dragging these crossovers over to the next peg, and then we loop up. I'm going to tick off that I just did 33. Yeah, you can notice that there's a slight difference in the blues, but I don't think it'll matter too much. Hopefully, as I'm going to give you a count for how many bands you'll need, you won't have that same problem. So let's move our mini base plates. That was 33, so now we're on 34. Throw your bands around the room. We're going to do 3 pair of blue, one pair of white, and blue all the way to the bottom. Every time I say that I think of an Australian advert for peanut butter. All the way to the bottom of the jar. Let's grab our next column and do the let's pinch it this way. 2 and 2. There we go. First 2 over, the new crossover band, and then the second 2. And that reminds us that we need to put new crossover bands on from the centre to the right. And we loop up, dig down and find those bottom 2 blue bands. I'm going to pull this forward so I can find them easier. Says she. Aha, there we go. That was a tricky one. So that was 34. The next 2 columns, 35 and 36, are all just the blue. Two lead, 2 middle, 2 white, and then blue all the way down. Get this column, pinch it, release the slip knot, grab all 4 loops, First two, drag the crossover, and second two. Move these crossover bands over. Now, unfortunately, my phone ran out of space and didn't indicate to me that it had. So I have actually, this is row 34 here with the white, 35, this is 36. So I think you might have to loop up one column by yourself, okay? But I mean, we've done all of this. You should be quite capable of doing that. I am now going to be on, so this was, hang on, 34, 35, 36. I'm on row column 37. All right. Column 37 is a lot of blues until we get down a little bit further. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pair of blue. 3, 4, 5, and 6. We then have a single pair of white. We then have 3 more pair of blue. Oops. And another pair of white. Let's find our column that we're looking for. Here it is. Pinch it to make sure we don't lose anything more than we need to. Release the slip knot like that. Put your hook through all 4 of the loops like so. The first pair go here. Now 37 is going to be new bands. So I've put the first 2 loops on. I'm moving the crossover band over the old one. I'm going to take a new crossover and I'm going to pop the other 2 bands there. Alright, I'm going to drag these crossovers across to column 37. And then let's loop it up. I've had a lot of people tell me that their looms have broken or their bands have been snapping. Let me just say, if you're using a loom that is not a Rainbow Loom original, it is highly likely that your loom could break and that the pegs are sharp and they will slice your bands. So if you have the opportunity to buy an authentic Rainbow Loom, I cannot stress enough how beneficial that will be for you. And I'm not being paid to say that or anything like that. It's just a fact of life. I've got a few different looms now and they are not the same and they do slice your bands. So we're now on column 38 2 lead, 2 middle, and 2 white. We are going to be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pair of blue. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to do 3 pair of white. And now 3 pair of blue to the bottom. We're going to have new crossover bands, single clear ones, go from the centre to the right. And let's put our next column up here. Now this one's just about ready to unloop itself, so I'm glad we caught it. Pop your hook through, release the slip knot, grab all 4 bands. The first 2 go on the peg. This one is a crossover band and it gets stretched across, and then we pop that second pair of bands there. Let's loop up. You're looking for the white bands at the bottom, very bottom white bands. Oh my goodness gracious, sometimes. And I've got more that I'm either not getting them or I'm getting too many. 1, I got a blue. There we go. Yay. Make sure this bottom one, you keep that one safe. So that was 38. Let's tick it off. We're at 39. Move the big base plate. Now 39, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then a pair of white and blue to the bottom. Let's find our Next column, here he is. Poke our hook through. Place 2 on, grab the crossover, drag it over, place the other 2 on. Let's drag these crossovers all the way across. This is 39. Let's dig down, find those 2 bottom blue bands. Nope, too many. There we go. Push everything down. Keep that one there. That's really important. Okay, we're on 40. Is blue all the way down. Now 40, we're also going to have new crossover bands so that we can spread them between 3 and 3 or 4 and 4. So let's undo the slip knot here. This is curling in my way. Alright, let's put my hook under here, like that. I'm going to drag that slip knot undone. Put my hook through all 4 of the loops. The first 2 go on. Drag the crossover band over, get another one and pop those 2 bands on like that. Drag these across. Tick off that we've done 40. Let's push back and grab, that's only 1, I want 2. Take this one off the loom. Move the big base plate. Now we have 3 more columns to do. 2 of them are going to be blue and 1 of them is going to be all white. So let's do our last 2, which are blue. And these will be the last set of crossover bands as well. Find our next column, here it is, undo the slip knot, the first 2 go on, move this new crossover band over and then put your other 2 bands on. Now we're going to do some new crossover bands, so a single clear, go from the centre to the right. These are your last crossover bands that you have to do. No more of them. Let's loop this up. Dig down, you're going to find those bottom 2 blue bands. In the wrong spot. There we go. Up and over. One more column of blue, so lead, oops, okay, let's find our second last column. Undo the slip knot, grab it all with your hook. First 2 on, grab the crossover, drag it across, second 2 on, move your crossover bands over, dig down, you're looking for the bottom 2 bands. Lucky last. It's all going to be white. Alright, so you don't have to put lead bands on because there's nowhere for it to lead to. So just move the middle ones across to the right and lay your bands. Find the tie-off one down here in a slip knot, undo your slip knot carefully, poke your hook through all 4 of the loops like that. The first 2 go on, drag your crossover band over, second 2 go on, drag all of these crossover bands over, and now we can loop up these 2 columns simultaneously if you want to. Okay, at the top here, move to the right, move to the right, and now you're going to grab 2 white bands, poke your hook through the center of this peg and out the side and put the 2 white bands on, drag through, oops, let's grab all of them, there we go. There we are. Up, over and off, pull tight. I'm going to pull this off the loom. We're going to hide these tie-off bands under some of these bands here. So poke your hook through the center like that. Grab the tie-off bands, keep them taut if you can, pull them through and then move that back. So here we go, let's see how it looks. This is the Australian flag. It will settle down, the bands are a bit sort of wiggly at the minute, but it will settle down, so stretch it into shape. Now if you want to compare it to, this was the Union Jack done on a double loom, okay, and if we want to compare it, I don't even think I have something on a single loom here, but you can see the difference in size. It's huge. Let me get something to show you. This was the Union Jack done on a single loom, okay, so even the Union Jack that's actually in this Aussie flag that we've just made is bigger, so you can see it side by side how much bigger it is. I know it's a labour of love. I hope you enjoy making it. It's hard work, I understand. Good luck with it. Take care.